Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the First Religious Society, Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. I am Doug Latham, and I have the privilege of being your worship associate this morning. If you are visiting us here at FRS today or joining us for the first time, a special welcome to you. Those online can find this morning's order of service via a link just below the live stream window. FRS is a spiritual community overflowing with ways to get involved and to get to know people. Please take a moment to look through your order of service and see what activities for the week are available to sign up. Also, sign up for our weekly Steeple newsletter on the website if you haven't already. I call your attention in particular to the service of remembrance this Thursday evening at 5:30 p.m. here in the sanctuary and on YouTube. Also, there will be an information session immediately following this morning's worship service downstairs in the lower meeting house. As part of the planning for our 300th anniversary, the newly formed Congregational Insights team will present plans for a series of congregational workshop sessions to discuss our collective vision and action plan for the 4th century. If you would like to join this meeting online, you can find the Zoom link in your order of service on the Connect and Engage page. The spirit of interconnectedness calls us to recognize that it is how we show up in the space between us that defines the quality of our connections. Thank you. It is good to be together.
It is indeed good to be together. This was one of those Sunday mornings where, as of about last evening around 8 o'clock, I turned to my partner and said, I wonder if anyone's coming to church tomorrow. We have a lot of our members and friends who are either traveling, I didn't know it was a holiday weekend, or they are ill with different things or recovering from various things. So let us bring ourselves fully here, together in our sacred church and spiritual home. Our call to worship this morning are words of Claudia Rankin and Richard Rohr. Claudia writes, "What if what I want from you is new, newly made, a new sentence in response to all my questions, a swerve in our relation and the words that carry us, the care that carries. I am here without the shrug, attempting to understand how what I want and what I want from you run parallel. Justice and the openings for just us." And Richard Rohr writes, "We become what we are willing to see." I'd like to veer a little from our normal liturgy and bring us into a spirit of prayer now, as there are so many things happening in the world, both in our personal lives, the life of our community here at FRS, and certainly in the world beyond, as we hold communities who are reeling again from gun violence, one very nearby, as we hold the war that is happening and the terror and destruction of life. May we bring ourselves fully into this space, this sacred space, made holy by our gathering. May we find whatever it is that we are looking for and need from this time, from each other, from the holy mystery that continues to return day after day, month after month, even in the midst of despair. May we find comfort, inspiration, joy, compassion, love, dedication, awakening. May we find exactly what we knew we needed and even more, the things we didn't realize. May it be so. Amen. I'd like to invite us to rise in body or spirit and join in our opening hymn. It's in the Teal hymnal, number 1000, Morning Has Come.
The words to the chalice lighting are printed in your order of service. Let us join together in saying them. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Please be seated. Each Sunday, when we come together for shared community and shared worship, we light 2 candles of peace, representing just 2 places on earth that need peace. We know that there are countless numbers of places that need peace. These 2 we will hold in our hearts, especially close for this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I invite us all to respond in unison, peace, sol, shalom. This morning, our first candle is lit for Lewiston, Maine, where a mass shooting occurred this week, resulting in the loss of life for too many people, including the gunmen and an additional number of people who were very seriously injured. We invite all of you to join us for a vigil for change that is being put on by the Huddle on Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. in Market Square. There will be several speakers, including several of our members. I'll be offering a prayer. Bring a candle, a source of electric light with you. Bring your own inner light. We pray for peace in the hearts of all those who are living with something that is unspeakable. May they somehow feel and know that they hold this not alone, and may we remain committed to the work that needs to be done for peace in this area of our country. To this we respond, peace, Sol, Shalom. This morning we also light a second candle for the Middle East, where devastation of war continues. We, FRS, as a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, join with 90 other national organizations, partners, church denominations, the National Council of Churches, in condemning all violence against civilians by Hamas and the Israel military. We believe it is imperative that our policymakers in our country take measures to immediately de-escalate this violence, as war and violence are never the answer. We ask that things be done to prevent any further loss of civilian life and to call for a ceasefire to prevent these issues. To this we respond, peace, Sol, Shalom. Now let's rise and body our spirit again and join our voices in our affirmation of faith, followed by the doxology. The words of all are in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve mankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Please be seated.
Good morning. My name is Arthur Henshaw. Raised in the Northern Baptist tradition and drawn to Unitarian Universalism 50 years ago, this is my second journey of faith here at FRS. Seated on a wicker chair in Sunday school long ago, the teaching was from the Gospel of James, and in discussion, I was silent. Taken aside by the teacher after class, I was asked to let my light shine too, and not to hide it under a bushel. But I stayed quiet. You see, my light seemed dim compared to others, and not good enough, lacking, and embarrassed to admit it. Today, finally, that shy part of me and I feel more like friends, and I am less ashamed to show some light. Around age 12, I joined the baptism class to learn the teachings of my faith and be baptized by immersion. Not long after that baptism, wondering if all the teachings were true, I asked my dad before church one day if he believed Jesus was really the Son of God. After a moment, slowly and gently came, "No, I don't believe so, Arthur. I believe Jesus was a great teacher." I loved my early trust in ideas learned from church and was uncomfortable during my teens as faith began to slip away. I lacked the words then to express my yearning for anchors of ultimate truth. Today, I resonate with The Way It Is by William Stafford. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen. People get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. In my first journey of faith, I spoke of grief after my wife's sudden death in 2003, but I neglected to speak of grief's yielding and softening to make room for joy and hope. About a month after she died, still feeling the hard pit of grief in my gut, I glanced out the window, and there in the backyard were sun, sky, trees, breeze, and a heart-wrenching display of gorgeous yellow daylilies dancing in the breeze. Full and tall, with colors vivid and bright, brighter than I had ever seen before. Tears of joy filled my eyes, and hope rose in my heart. I realized in beauty, from beauty, the tide was beginning to turn. On its own accord, a good smile crossed my face. 3 years later, in a new relationship with Yvonne, we followed our curiosities for Eastern religions and teachings and practices. Today, my personal faith and practices are still evolving, drawing from Christian roots, scientific concepts of reality, Unitarian Universalism, and supplemented with learnings from Hinduism, Buddhism, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, BIPOC peoples, Islam, and FRS. In 2018, Yvonne and I sat in the audience one night at the Firehouse for an intimate performance of J.C. Superstar, the 1970s rock opera on the Passion. In Act 1, Simon urges Jesus to lead the adoring crowd of 50,000 to leverage hate and seek power. In reply, Jesus sings this interior soliloquy on the troubles of poor Jerusalem. Neither you, Simon, nor the 50,000, nor the Romans, nor the Jews, nor the 12, nor the priests, nor doomed Jerusalem itself understand what power is, understand what glory is, understand at all. If you knew all that I knew, my poor Jerusalem, you'd see the truth, but you close your eyes. But you close your eyes. While you live, your troubles are many, poor Jerusalem. To conquer death, you only have to die. You only have to die. That night, I was stunned. What does that mean? Vaporized immediately into a thunderbolt of self-awareness and a second meaning, personal, universal, and clear. But time passes, and today that meaning feels less clear, unworkable, and insufficient. The questions linger, though, and I still wonder, why might we willfully avoid looking at the root of our troubles? What is it that needs to die? What is asking to be born? So,
Thanks, Dad. I'm listening. And I still have the thread.
Let's sing our Children to Young Church with number 413, Go Now in Peace.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of our church, both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. The October shared collection goes to support the Greater Newbury Pet Fund. 100% of the donations go to our elders and their pets. Imagine the pain of having to surrender your animal, a best friend, because you couldn't afford food or veterinary care. That's just not right. Please support our deserving senior neighbors and their loving animals. In a moment, the ushers will circulate through the aisles to receive your gifts. To give online, you can use the link in your order of service or below the live stream window. And of course, you can always mail a check to the church. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Thank you, Justin and Art. This is a time each week when we lift up the joys and the sorrows, the hopes and concerns of our beloved faith community. You can email them to me or to Between Us, or write in the journal that's in the vestibule each Sunday. Tom Himmel, our pastoral care associate this morning, will light a candle as I share each of them. We begin with a candle of joy and continued care and support, with the good news that Rob Autier, our director of church operations, had a major heart surgery a couple of days ago, and it went very, very well, textbook. He will be in extended recovery and will not be here at church for some time, but we do ask that everyone holds him and his family in your loving thoughts and prayers. Betsy Latham asks that we light a candle of concern and care for her brother Bill and his family and hold them in your thoughts. Bill has been in the hospital since Tuesday and is still awaiting test results. We light 2 candles of love and care and concern and hold in our hearts this morning Bob and Jan Tyler Nelson. Bob has been having a very hard and bad reaction to cancer treatment over the last month and has needed to go to the hospital several times and is there again now dealing with acute pain. And just this morning, Jan was also brought to the hospital dealing with her own challenges, obviously exasperated by Bob's concerns. We miss seeing them and they miss seeing all of you, and so please hold them in your loving thoughts. I know that cards would be very welcomed. We light a candle of welcome and of joy from Becca and Ben and Oscar McGee and Pocket Fundus. They would like to welcome and have us join them in welcoming their new pup, Pocket. Yeah, I think we have a Rocket here too now, into our family and our community. She was adopted last Saturday, is going through a few low-stress days at home, or she would have been the animal blessing service. Happy to share she's making great strides with her new cat friend, McGee, and we're pretty sure she hopes to meet everyone in Newburyport soon with her tail wagging. We light a candle of care and concern for Mary Beth Banios as she is undergoing surgery tomorrow on her knee, having been moved up quicker than she had thought would be necessary. So please hold her in your thoughts and prayers. We light a candle of joy as Nancy Colby shares that her grandson Cameron Leonard won the Bay State Marathon in Lowell, Massachusetts, with a time of 2 hours and 32 minutes. And she says, "I am a proud grandmother," rightfully so. And we light one final candle, as we do each Sunday, for all of the joys, all of the cares, all of the concerns, that although unspoken are held in just as much love and care. Amen.
Reverend Rebecca and I are reading an excerpt from an essay written by FRS member Ken Kretsch, entitled The Rhythm of the Planets. There are copies of the essay in its entirety in the vestibule. Ken begins, I wrote this at the beginning of the first Iraq War in 1990. I was angry that we were at war again. To take a break from the shock and awe we saw on the nightly television, I went to my home in Vermont to get away for a while. When I woke up in the morning, I found it had snowed during the night and all the trees were covered with heavy snow. As I sat at the kitchen table, I began to write.
The rhythm of the planet. The war drums are beating again. Bombs are falling, and soon the red blood of humankind will flow and mix with the black blood of the earth and cover the desert. Is this the end? The last crucible of the experiment of the Great One? Or will this mixing of human blood and earth blood, as in ancient ceremonies, return humankind to that long-lost unity of earth, sky, planet, animal, and human, when all beat together in the rhythm of the planet? Amid the cacophony, I came to my valley in the mountains, the home of fox, bear, and deer, hoping to hear in their wisdom the faint echoes of the rhythm, just as a scientist goes to outer space to listen for the echoes of the Big Bang.
It snowed last night. The ground is covered with powder. Every branch of every tree hangs low with its load of earth manna. I see a world of black and white, devoid of definition, save for the hemlock tree drooping under its load. It is as if I have been transformed into the primordial whiteness before the hand of the Great One moved and brought order out of chaos. The sun comes up over the mountain, the Great One awakening, and as if on cue, the winds come up and the branches shed their load, and once again, trees emerge from the whiteness.
And then I see the track of deer. I strain to hear the rhythm of the planet in the voice of deer. Hear the words of deer. As the hand of the Great One moved, earth and sky appeared, and the water, earth, and sky separated. And the earth brought forth all manner of life, plants, fish, bird, animal, human. And the Great One said, you are all equal. You are all connected. Each one has its note in the rhythm of the planet.
When the air hurts, so does the earth. When the earth hurts, so does the plant. When the plant hurts, so does the bee. When the bee hurts, so does the bear. When the bear hurts, so does the human.
So, humans cared for the air, earth, plants, birds, and the animals, and they all cared for each other. For in the unity of the rhythm, no hurt could be distinguished from any other hurt. And there were great upheavals of the earth, volcanoes, floods, earthquakes, and the snows came and covered the earth. This, too, was the rhythm of the planet. For after each catastrophe, new life was born.
But for the white man, it was not enough, and from his need grew his greed, his first sin. But greed was not a part of the rhythm, and dissonance rang in his ears. To restore his own harmony, he said, "Let me create my own rhythm." Vanity, his second sin. The white man in his vanity created his own God in his own image, to be his apologist as well as his antagonist. And his puppet God said, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and everything that moves upon the earth." Thus began the end of the rhythm of the planet.
Wrapped in that destiny, mouthed dutifully by his puppet God, he began to destroy. He tore open the earth, drawing its blood of gold, silver, iron, oil, to satisfy his vanity. And he began to kill indiscriminately, animals for pleasure, other humans when they stood in his way. Even his puppet God became angry, but he remained a compliant God who could be dragged out or put away as the white man saw fit.
When his God said, "Thou shalt not kill," he replied, "Right, God, only when you tell me to. I reserve the right to know when that is." Thus he is locked in a war where both sides claim God as their co-pilot. How can that be? When his God says, "Feed the poor," he replies, "God, economic systems are not your strong suit." When his God says, "Love thy neighbor," he says, "But God, competition makes us strong. Survival of the fittest, you know." When his God says, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," he replies, "Where have you been, God? Do unto others before they do unto you."
Deer stared at me a long time. Then, with tears in her eyes, she turned and walked away. Thank you, Ken. The synchronicity of this service abounds, and it happens every time. Art's journey of faith, though scheduled months ago, we didn't know what the words were exactly reinforcing what we're talking about. Ken sharing his writings with me, asking recently, had you reread this particular one, and how exactly precisely it fits. The topic of this sermon, chosen literally in the summer, when I first heard the lecture and the words I'm going to be reflecting upon, how could we have known what was going on in the world today? I also want to ask you before I begin, do you have any idea how good it is to be together? Do you have any idea how much you lift my heart and each other's? how you show up behind the scenes in ways that most never know, appearing at people's homes and hospital beds, sending beautiful photographs of the ocean. We are blessed. And I really hope you can just let that in. How do I maintain relationships with people who think so differently from me? How do I maintain relationships with family, friends, college, people I knew decades ago? How do I maintain relationships with people who think so differently from me? That question, with slight variations, is one of the most common questions I've been asked as a minister over the last 5 years. It may pertain to people's relatives, longtime friends, or neighbors, or it may be asked in a more sweeping way, pertaining to all those people who think differently than me or us. I often have felt, and I'll be careful not to speak too much extemporaneously, I have often felt afraid to respond with my true answer to that. Because that white man, and I use that only as a holding point, that perspective so prevalent in our society says, oh, you naive person. You don't understand. I heard a speaker this summer who answered this question, how do I maintain relationships with people who think so differently from me? She answered this question in a compelling and unique way. Dr. Pamela Paresky, author and visiting professor at Johns Hopkins and University of Chicago, director of the Aspen Center for Human Development, was speaking at the Chautauqua Institute about her project that's called Habits of a Free Mind. This project includes courses and programs that facilitate the ability to think in new ways and that lead to and engage across lines of differences without people feeling traumatized and without dehumanizing ideological opponents. I hope you'll keep listening, because I'm really talking to us. Her approach to this critical concern about how do we respond or talk across differences or respond to this increasing polarization comes at this question through the lens of marriage, which, as I continued to listen to her multiple times in the recording, I realized that what she is sharing and talking about actually applies not only to marriage, as she talks about it, and of course she applies it as well to democracy and a successful democracy. It's clear to me that these same skills are needed for all relationships. Yes, marriage. Yes, democracy. Friendship. Being a part of this congregation, your workplace, your family. Paresky starts by outlining the basic human needs in any relationship, and again, any of the things I've just mentioned, including a successful democracy. She says that all humans have a need to feel and be understood. We have a need to trust that in the relationship, be it a democracy, a congregation, a marriage, a friendship, a work environment, that they will be kept safe and that they will not be abandoned. Her primary work, by the way, as a scholar and a researcher and a therapist, validates these needs. And think about that. All humans need to trust they'll be kept safe. All humans need to feel appreciated and even admired. All humans need to have someone who will defend you when you are attacked. All humans need to feel like we matter and we belong. And finally, all humans navigate the tension between being responsible to the relationship that you're a part of and being free. We all seek to be understood, to feel safe, to be appreciated, again, admired. We all want to know we will not be abandoned if we speak our truth, especially when our truth deviates from the prevailing thinking of the other person or people in the relationship. We all need to feel we matter and belong, and we all need to find the balance in any relationship between meeting our own needs and meeting the needs of the other or others that are in that same relationship. We need to be sensitive to these needs both within ourselves and others for a relationship to succeed, including, as I've said, a successful democracy. Presky argues, and I agree, that we need to trust that the people, other people in the relationship, share common goals, though we may have very different ideas about how to achieve those goals. This is true at church, in marriages and friendships. The problem today when it comes to democracy is that most Americans do not trust that those people on the other side, and I will continue to put that in quotations, do not share the same goals and needs as we do. And yet research shows that we do share the same goals and needs, albeit often with very different understandings of how to get them met. I referenced this in my September In the Spirit column in the Daily News that I entitled Beyond Words. And I wrote, and will share again, the AP Press reported in June of this year on a study that was conducted by the National Opinion Research Center at the University of Chicago. This study revealed that 90% of Americans share 9 common values. 90% of Americans share the same values. Regardless of their political party. These values include a government that is accountable to its people, fair and equal application of the rule of law, a government that represents the people it serves, learning from the past to improve our country, personal responsibility and accountability, and respect and compassion across differences. The problem is, and this was in June, maybe much higher today, 33% of the people who participated in this survey do not believe that the other party or side holds those same values. Trust is fearfully low. This is not going to change as long as we believe that the goal is to be right. Our trust in one another will increase when we understand the reality of our interconnectedness, accept what that means, and then choose to listen and hear and learn and focus on our shared common values. The answer, this is still from the column this summer, the answer is not to dehumanize or demonize the other person or people, or to convince them to try to change their beliefs. It will fail. We don't have to agree or hold the same beliefs. Thinking so robs us of the gifts that arise from our differences. It is about so much more than being right. Dr. Presky outlines 7 habits that help us develop trust that the other side or people share our common goals, and ways of thinking that allow us to promote successful relationships and democracy. These habits of mind, I'm just going to spend a little bit on each one briefly, include a sense of calling Why do you believe in democracy? Why are you here? Why do you do the work you do? What's your calling in your personal relationships? And then it includes commitment, not just when it's easy. It includes courage, curiosity, candor, honesty with compassion. Compromise, compassion, which by the way is the opposite of contempt. Contempt, I found this fascinating, is the number one predictor of a failed relationship. That is absolutely studied and true. The number one predictor of a marriage not lasting is a feeling of contempt. And if it's true in that relationship, how does that apply to democracy, for example? So again, for each of these habits, Presky suggests a mantra or a thought that can help us strengthen the habit until, with repeated use, it becomes a virtue. The first habit of thinking around this sense of calling is to question and to ask ourselves. She says a calling is a question. How we live our lives is the answer. And the mantra that goes along with that is, you matter to me. You matter to me. In using that mantra, we remind ourselves when faced with difficult situations that our calling to be in the relationship, to be a part of the organization, to join with others, that matters. And thus, the other people matter too. Again, why am I trying to work this out with Uncle Jimmy? Because family matters to me. Why does it matter that I stay in relationship with longtime friends who have such different viewpoints than me? Because friendship matters. Because democracy matters. Because our congregation matters, because you matter. Thus, commitment is the second habit of this free mind. After we make a decision to follow a call, we need to make a commitment to it. And the mantra for that is, how will we solve our problems together? This can be a difficult one in the face of perceived conflict because human instinct is to fight, flee, freeze, try to please. Honoring our commitment means we stay. Of course, and I need to say this, it assumes the relationship is a safe relationship to be in. The next habit is courage, with the mantra of, you can count on me. It takes courage to show up, to have someone's back, to support them in speaking their truth, which leads to the habit of curiosity, which requires us to listen. Not just for what we want to hear, but for what the other person is actually saying. Listening, Presky says, is a primitive act of love. Listening is not debate. Curiosity has two mantras, which I really use and admire. And the first one is, when we're curious, is we ask ourselves, what am I missing? Because we know we will, by human nature, want to hear what we want to hear. A simple way to test that out is to confirm with the person or people what you're understanding them to say and hear what they respond, which is often, no, that's not what I said. And the second question is, what's the story I'm telling myself? As you're listening to this other person or people or on the news, what's your story? This strengthens self-awareness and reflection, both of which are essential for healthy relationships. And then from curiosity, we can move into candor or honesty with consideration. An ability to be honest without being unnecessarily harmful is a spiritual commitment and an art, and something we can all learn to do better. The mantra for candor with consideration is, I choose my words with care. It reminds me that it's about principles, not personalities, and that we can disagree without dehumanizing, attacking, and demonizing other people. The final two habits of a free mind are compromise and compassion. The mantra for compromise is, you can trust me. And the one with compromise, we are employing acts of repair, not retribution. Richard Rohr says at some point we have to stop counting for there to be peace. It can be vulnerable, as many of us want proof that the other person or people are worthy of our trust. And the final habit is compassion, which, as I said, is the opposite of contempt. And compassion's mantra is, you belong here. Presky says, here is a place for us. There is a place for them. What if we truly are, which we are, interconnected, and everyone belongs, and every living thing? This commitment to radical inclusivity is what activist and minister Polly Murray meant when she said, when my brothers try to draw a circle to exclude me, I shall draw a larger circle to include them. She was the first African-American woman ordained to ministry in the Episcopal Church. Presky argues that these habits of thinking, all of which, by the way, are virtues, so we will all fail as we learn and try, help to loosen our attachment to tribal demands and focus instead on civil demands. She reminds us that tribal thinking leads to war, and that no ideological monoculture will remain a democracy for long. She says, and I love this, there are ex-anti-Semites and ex-white supremacists, but it requires us to see those people as human beings and not monsters. Do we have the willingness to be with a person who is even wrong in their actions, truly, and see them as a person worthy of dignity and humanity? The only thing that has changed hateful beliefs, she says, is when someone who wasn't supposed to hate didn't. There's one additional thing required to develop habits of a free mind that I believe needs to be stated, and that is proximity. If we're to have relationships with people who think differently than us, we must be proximate to them. Brian Stevenson taught me this in his work with people on death row. Proximity doesn't need to mean that you're lifelong friends or that you even have long-term relationships. It doesn't mean that you live in the same place. It does, however, require that we have genuine connection with others when possible on their landscape. Some of you have commented to me on how deeply the war in the Middle East is affecting me. I'll be honest, I wasn't necessarily knowing that that sort of emanated from me. I am convinced that that is true because I spent time there. I slept in people's homes, in both sides. I heard their stories, their understanding, their narrative. We stayed with families in the Holy Land, including the West Bank. These people fed us when they had little food and let us use their phones to call home. This war is particularly close to me because I have faces that belong to what's happening. I know we can't all do things like that. I was very privileged in seminary to have to do that. But there are things we can do. We can listen to tapes and recordings and podcasts and read writings by people in their words, their voices, back to our banned books, We can listen to their music. Look at pictures of the people, not on the nightly news, but where they're simply being people. When possible, get close and closer still, because it changes us. I'll close with what ended my newspaper column. The future is in our hands. The well-being and future of our children, grandchildren, animals, ecosystems, the planet, and all those who live and may live depends on the decisions we make today. So may we choose habits that promote free thinking and sustain relationships. May we draw the circle wide, making room so that we may once again believe in the power of the people. Amen. Let's rise in body or spirit and join in our closing hymn, which is number 159, This Is My Song. Please remain standing and let's join our voices in our unison benediction as Doug extinguishes the chalice. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. My friends, may we always separate the principles and the people. May we stay true and hold true to the values, the principles, the virtues we believe in. Faith and trust, democracy, the inherent worth and dignity of all people, peace on earth. May we hold those true and choose actions that further them every day, and at the same time, make room to separate the people. And let us remind ourselves always that they too are human, struggling, hurting, needing to know they belong, often misguided. But who amongst us isn't also all of those things? May we work together for peace in our hearts and in the world. Amen, and blessed be. Again, I hope you'll join us downstairs for an important conversation.